Hello, welcome to Recapping with Delora
and Ashley.
Please follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter at Recapping Podcast.
Also, comment, rate, and subscribe on your favorite podcast platform. We're on all the things.
We would love to hear your ratings of the movies and shows we review.
Email us your audio file to recappingpodcast@gmail.com and we will play it during the show.
Or DM us on Instagram and we will post and read it on air.
Thank you guys so much for listening.
Thank you. Hello, ladies.
Hi. Delora, we have a special guest in the building
sure
today.
Do. The one and only Shamika. Say hello.
Hey, hi, everyone. Thank you so much for having me.
We have talked about Shamika so many times.
We have, and we're super excited that you are making time to be with us today to talk about soul later on. I'm really excited.
Very.
All right, so let's get into these hot topics. Y'all, Tiger Woods, y'all. I mean, I don't want to make fun of the situation, but it's a very sad situation. Tiger Woods on Tuesday got into a really bad car accident. It's so bad that he had to get surgery. They talked about him getting major surgery on his right leg and his ankle. They said that if he wasn't wearing a seatbelt, it would have been a fatal crash.
Wow.
And you know, I kind of hate this when it comes to our great sports idols, but everyone starts to speculate about whether or not he'll be able to play again.
Right.
And I just saw on Extra today that a doctor, not necessarily associated with Tiger, but he said that with that type of injury, it could take up to a year or two to fully recover.
Yeah.
What did you think about when you first heard about this accident? You can start off, Shamika, since you're
Since I'm the guest, thank you. Well, I thought, what a tragedy, like, my gosh. And then, it was kind of unfortunate because my second thought was, what was he doing? Was he speeding? Was he drinking? Like, wow.
Yes, and thank you for bringing that up. They have not found any foul play.
Right.
So he's not going to be charged for the accident. They are seriously deeming this as a
Accident.
just genuine accident. Yes.
Wow. Well,
although he's had issues in the past. So in 2009, I used to always say he hit a tree and a bunch of hose fell out. That was the year.
That's about it. That's about accurate.
Out about all of his infidelities.
Yeah.
And there was a fight between him and his then wife. And in 2017, he was arrested because he was under the influence of painkillers. Because, guys, just last year, if I read correctly, he just had his 5th back surgery. So he's been dealing with a lot of back pain and dealing with those type of medications. This is not a good look. Ashley,
it's not what he needed. Yeah, I mean, I definitely felt sad when I heard the news. I'm glad that it wasn't the devastation of, Tiger Woods has passed away, that at least it was just, hey, it's an accident. It seems like, he'll be able to recover. But obviously, prayers out to his family, his children. Really, I was thinking about, because he had just did like a little thing with his son that was very cute.
It was adorable.
It was adorable. And then obviously, what does this mean for his career, right? I mean, is this now going to be his forced retirement? Because like you said, I mean, he's already had multiple back surgeries. He's had knee surgery. It was already, worrisome whether or not he was going to make it back to compete. And I mean, Tiger wants that 19th win. So I mean, he's chasing that title, and I root for Tiger still. Remember, I had just did as my Hidden Gem, the Tiger doc on HBO Max. So I felt like I had a better understanding of him after watching that. And I'm like, you just do not have a good history of motor vehicles, sir. Like, this is just
And I'm not even trying to be awful, but he just needs to pay somebody to drive him.
No, seriously. And it just made me sad because I just, again, to see him possibly for such a stellar career go out like this is upsetting. But I do hope at the end of the day that health wise he's able to recover and be back to his normal self, because I know they said he's going to take him a while to even learn how to walk, right?
Absolutely, yes.
He seems pretty determined, though. I can see after learning to walk, he's still good. He's going for that 19th or whatever.
He definitely has the mental capacity to be able to walk again. The play, I think he should do what's best for him. I don't feel comfortable when people start speculating, so I'm not going to start, but I'm glad that it wasn't a fatal crash, because unfortunately, it's just, I think of Kobe immediately.
Absolutely. That was devastating.
Yes. And so I'm glad that he's awake. He's alert. He doesn't have any recollection of the accident, according to sources. Mm-hmm. But we wish you speedy recovery, Tiger.
Absolutely.
All right. Our second hot topic today, The Bachelor. Matt James has released a statement about Chris Harrison's controversial interview with Rachel Lindsay. In this statement, y'all, he talks about how he's incredibly troubled by the information that has since come to light. He's disappointed in the pictures from Rachel Kirkconnell. And he's also devastated and heartbroken over the fact that Chris Harris wasn't able to have a productive conversation with Rachel Lindsay about the problematic aesthetic of the antebellum South pictures that Rachel Kirkconnell was a part of. And as you all know, The Bachelor is still on. The finale is close, but it's not over. Mm-hmm. And apparently he's looking forward to speaking out more once the season is over. There's a lot of speculation going on that Rachel probably was the girl he chose and that they also have broken up. Mm-hmm. And he's also went as far as to say that he's kind of disappointed in the Bachelor franchise as well for is essentially dropping the ball and having so much drama going on in the season. Were you all surprised that he had something to say?
Go ahead first.
I was. I mean, I don't watch The Bachelor, but I mean, just the initial rumors about him addressing his blackness and the expectations of, what he would do and who he would pick. I mean, I didn't think he would have that opinion for sure.
No, I don't think so either.
I was surprised a little bit. I was actually surprised about the whole thing. So thank you for sending me the link because I didn't know at all.
You're welcome.
Yeah. I didn't know that. What's the girl's name? Rachel?
Which Rachel? There's two.
Oh, it's both two Rachels. Okay. So I guess the Rachel, I didn't know about the rumor that he might have chosen her.
Kirkconnell, the contestant,
Kirkconnell.
Rachel.
So I think that's a good look that, I mean, if they, he had chosen her, he broke up with her, like, that's good. Right?
Like, sorry, ma'am, we're done.
Yeah.
Especially because last week when we talked about this with the Chris Harrison apology, we didn't talk about the fact that Van on the podcast he does with Rachel Lindsay said that he thought that this was right up Matt James' alley. He seems like he probably liked slave play, and I was like, whoa, Van.
I mean, but that's how everyone made it seem. Seriously. So, I
mean,
I can understand him not wanting to be judged, but
I don't have anything nice to say, so I'm going to not say anything.
You must. I want to hear it. What do you have to say?
Nope, not today. Go ahead, Ashley.
Okay. I'm sorry. I've opened up a little bit of a can of worms. So to your point, Delora and Shamika, I am definitely interested to see if Rachel Kirkconnell was the inevitable winner, because I know she was down to his top 3 for sure.
Yes,
and
a girl actually left. Like, so
she said, "You're not my person, Matt. Sorry." Yeah, and it's funny. This is the second season in a row where someone has excused themselves in the last 3 or 4.
Remove
because
me
you
from
had
this
that
narrative.
with Brendan. You had Brendan last season with Tayshia. So yeah, if mine too. Girl, Brendan, I still follow him on IG anyway. Hey boo, if he and Rachel have broken up, I think that is very interesting. I will look forward to hearing what he feels like he needs to say further. But my larger question, ladies, is this the end of the franchise? Because I just read an article on Jezebel earlier, and they're saying that this is quite possibly the end of the entire thing, because how do they redeem themselves unless they completely do a facelift, right? New host, really make an actual emphasis on diversity, not just say there's an emphasis on diversity. Like, I feel like there's gonna have to be a lot that goes into it for fans to still want to stick with this series and for it to stay relevant moving into the future. Because I mean, the whole racial reckoning situation is here and now and will continue.
But see, it's wildly popular. So how do you end something like that? And honestly, the cynical side of me was thinking, this is why they didn't have Black people on this show this whole time.
Because they didn't want these problems. And that's true. Bachelor Nation is still there, but I just think because of the backlash, because of the controversy, ABC is going to take a harder look at this as a network. You know what I mean? I don't think that it's going to come down to...
And their leadership is people of color. I think it's actually a Black woman who's now in charge. So
she actually went to... She
stepped down?
She went to Netflix. We lost another one.
That's right.
We lost another one. Yeah. She went to Netflix. But yeah, I mean, like you said, Bachelor Nation is strong. I'm just curious because that was the first time I heard somebody say, this is it. This is over. Y'all either going to have to rehab seriously or the series is going to be canceled. That's no insider information that I know personally from work. So this is all speculation.
And we also have to, and I think it's also fair to factor in, it is completely different in the age of COVID. You know what I mean? Like, we are literally stuffed in. Honestly, I feel like Tayshia got the short end of the stick, though. Her and what was the lady who was there before her? Claire.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, were they at the Holiday Inn? I mean, and then Matt got...
It was something like that. It was like La Quinta. Yeah, it was like La Quinta, something like that. Shade.
It's just... But I don't know. It should be interesting, but
yeah,
again, you know, they just want us to shut up and play basketball, right? Like,
shut up and dribble.
So I don't know. This it definitely appears to have been a failure in leadership.
Mm-hmm.
And that means behind the scenes at Bachelor's Nation. So
why? Because they didn't do their due diligence?
Yes.
Yeah,
absolutely. I feel like he probably went out on the limb, Chris, to protect Rachel because he probably knew she probably was the winner. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But in that process, he put his entire leg in his mouth, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, it showed his position, though.
It did.
For sure.
It did.
I feel like that's the first place you go. That's exactly that's exactly how you think. You're like, oh, it wasn't a big deal 2-3 years ago or whatever. It's always been a big deal.
He showed up in full form.
Yeah.
And ladies, do you have anything else on these two topics?
Good to go.
All right. So we're ready for the recap.
Yes. So, recap of Disney Pixar film, our first animated.
Yes.
Soul dropped on Christmas Day on Disney Plus exclusively. Actual runtime is about 90 minutes. Nominated for 2 Golden Globes, Best Motion Picture Animated and Best Original Score. Golden Globes airing this Sunday. Up for 6 NAACP Image Awards. Let me give you guys a brief summary. After landing the gig of a lifetime, New York jazz pianist Joe Gardner suddenly finds himself trapped in a strange land between Earth and the afterlife. Playwright and screenwriter Kemp Powers of One Night in Miami.
Yes.
Served as co-writer and co-director, becoming the first Black person in the history of Disney Pixar to do so. Hey,
Black history.
Hey. This is a good way to end Black History Month, I'll tell you what. Music composers, because this is a Disney film, kids.
Yes.
So music composers, Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross from 9 Inch Nails, crazy. They've won awards. I think they did the Social Network and won like Golden Globes and such. And John Baptiste, musician, band leader, musical director on The Late Show with Stephen Colbert.
From New Orleans.
Served as co-composer. He's also the music director of the Atlantic Magazine and the National Jazz Museum in Harlem. Love finding out new facts, okay?
He's beyond talented. Like,
let's
ridiculous.
Let's get into this cast real quick. We have the Jamie Foxx as Joe Gardner. And let me know, this is Pixar's first Black protagonist in its 34-year history, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Tina Fey as
Who was
Soul
blue
22.
Most of the time? I'm just joking.
What'd you say?
Who was blue most of the time? Or was it translucent?
It was translucent. But hey, we still know that was a Black man.
Right.
Tina Fey as Soul 22. Felicia Rashad as Libba, who plays Jamie Foxx, aka Joe Gardner's mother. Mm-hmm. Dorothea Williams, played by the incomparable Angela Bassett. Mm-hmm. Graham Norton as Moonwind. Questlove as Curly.
Mm-hmm. It's Curly.
Rachel House as Terry. We had 5 people playing Counselor Jerry. Alice Braga, Richard Ayoade, I hope that's how you pronounce your name, sir. Wes Studi and Zenobia Schroff, as well as comedian Fortune Feimster. Donnell Rollins as Dez. Cora Champiomir, hopefully that's correct, as Connie. Margot Hall as Melba. And Daveed Diggs Delora as Paul.
Lafayette.
Let's get into some
I'm
reviews.
Sorry, I get so hyped because every time I hear his name, I think guns and ships and I'm sorry.
She's a Hamilton fanatic, guys. Hamilton fanatic. Let's get into these reviews. Rotten Tomatoes, 95% critic score, 88% audience score, 93% of you Google users out there enjoyed this film. Since I've given other people's opinions, it is time for ours. Shamika, as our guest darling, give me your grade for
My
Soul.
grade for this film, I gave it a B+.
Okay. Give us a little background on why.
Why?
Without any spoilers, if you can.
Right, without any spoilers. Well, I'll say it spoke to my soul. Mm-hmm. I love the premise of it. The meaning of life, finding purpose, and I know it's supposed to be a Disney movie, but I definitely feel like it was for adults.
It was absolutely an adult
1000%.
Delora?
I gave this film an A-. I loved it. I've watched it a million times. Although I do believe this film is an adult film, my toddler enjoys it thoroughly. She loves the colors.
Good.
And I love how calming it is when he's, in the in-between, so to speak. It was very calming. It reminded me a lot of Inside Out, right? Mm-hmm. It's like, yo, leave me alone. I just want to watch an animated film, okay? That is all I came here for.
Minus all these feels. What is this?
For some reason, recently, I've watched Inside Out multiple times. I don't know what type of mood I've been in, but seriously, I have watched that movie so many times. So my grade is the highest today, shockingly, and that's an A. I gave it an A. Okay. I thoroughly enjoyed this the day that I watched it, and I think it's just because obviously I'm a big lover of Disney Pixar films in general, always have been. Same. But I think to Shamika's point, this film just really came along at a time where like questioning what was important, taking time to be still and present because of COVID, because of everything we were going through last year was just so essential to my sanity. that I just related so much to what the purpose, the overall meaning I took away from the film, you know, to appreciate those small moments in life. So I loved it for that. I thought visually it was stunning, history making wise, it was everything. So it's going to be an A for me today.
And really quick, I gave it an A- because I did feel like it was kind of slow in some parts, but I feel like Pixar movies are notorious for that. So I just wanted to throw that in there.
That was exactly my reasoning too, Delora. It was a little slow, but
yeah, I was like, oh my God, can we get back to the great beyond? Okay, I'm over this. All right, so spoiler alert, we're about to get into the meat, the good of our recap. So as usual, splitting this into 3 sections for you guys. So first section, before the great beyond. So the film starts with us meeting Joe Gardner. He's teaching middle school band. He relays the story to his students of when he first fell in love with hip hop. I'm just kidding. It's jazz. He loves jazz.
Girl.
Y'all know I had to put in that brown sugar reference.
Right.
His dad took him to a jazz club and he saw a jazz player, what he considers to be going into the zone. And I feel like even if you don't play music, you know what that zone is when you really love something and you're really good at it. So I feel like everybody could relate to that in some capacity, right? We see that he gets a promotion technically to a permanent band teacher, but he does not seem too happy about that. His mother, though, on the other hand, who we meet, Libba, she was thrilled. She felt like it was a dream come true. Her son has a full-time job. He got benefits. Okay. She felt his gigging, as she called it, was a dead end because Joe loves to play the piano. This has been his dream to play his whole life, from what we understand. What are you guys' thoughts on this exchange between Joe and his mother at this point in the film?
I feel like for me, now having Bear, my son, I feel like gosh, as a mom, I understand wanting the best for your son, but I was like, man, I hope my approach is different. So, you know, this movie has definitely taught me a lot about that, because at the end of the day, I want him to be his own person, you know, and follow his dreams, follow his heart. Like, that's all I want. And it reminded me of, you guys remember that part in Pursuit of Happiness when Will Smith's character told his son, like, don't let anybody, you know, take you from your dreams, not even me. And I was like, hey, you know, so yeah, I don't want to be a dream crusher or anything like that. But I mean, even though she had the purest of intents, it was just kind of like, wow.
Yeah, with his mom, you can tell she obviously wanted what she thought was best for him, right? And I think it was difficult to watch because she wasn't taking time to actually hear him out.
Right.
She was just so preoccupied with her own thoughts and her own understanding of, you know, quote unquote security, that, you know, he just didn't receive, but because he kept pursuing his dream, which is something that every person should do.
For sure. And we talked about this a little bit, Delora and I did, in our recap of Sylvie's Love, with the idea that, to Shamika's point, you should not let even your parents limit what you're capable of and limit your potential, right? And we'll talk about his relationship with his mother as we go a little bit further into the film, because obviously you can tell that this is not new, that this is their dynamic and has been for a long time, because he doesn't really refute or argue or any of those things. And we all know what it's like to have those familial conversations. Sometimes it's better to just ignore and move on. So let's move on. So he gets a dream gig offer, Joe does, to perform with Dorothea Williams' band. Dorothea plays the saxophone, and he gets a call from a former student, Curly, aka Questlove, who plays drums in her band, and he lands him an audition. Joe, when he goes, is put on the spot, essentially. He didn't know what they were playing. He didn't know anything. No one gave him any instructions, but was thankfully able to get in the groove. And then we see him go into that zone that he talks about. So it seems like he's super excited. Dorothea was excited. She said, Teach, where have you been? You know, where have you been all my life? You did the damn thing. So in his excitement, though, he's not watching where he's stepping. He's not watching where he's going. This man falls into a manhole in New York City and dies.
He was cheating death.
Because there were multiple times throughout that he could have got, right?
Right.
Yes.
And unfortunately, the manhole got him. So here we go to the great beyond. Visually, we're immersed into a black sky, this ascending stairway to this blob of white light. I call them these little Caspers that are there and greet us as viewers and Joe. Ladies, is this what you envision when you die?
Not at all.
Wait, that's way too deep for my liking.
Hey,
right now.
this is the film. We got to get a little deep in this film. They're talking about the soul and, life after death. So,
and that's what I really appreciated about this film, is because they did take the time to think out, all the phases outside of this life, but no, I did not imagine an escalator to a giant light, and I don't know if y'all noticed, but every time a soul makes it to that light, it sounds like flies hitting a light bulb in the summertime. You know what I mean?
Because it's as if that is all of those bodies. That's how I took it. Is like, you're just adding to the blob. Like, that's the way
I was hoping there was something beyond there,
Right. Yeah.
It seemed like they're going into the blob
position.
Shamika, you said no, this is not what you envision either.
I don't know if I had any specific, but that wasn't it. But when I saw it, I was just like, wow, I guess. Like I was hoping that there was something beyond. Like that wasn't the great beyond, like you were going to the great beyond, like like it was something beyond that white light.
Oh, really quick. So Betty White actually has the best explanation for death. She says that
what did she say?
She said that she heard this when she was young, that when someone passes on, they know the big secret. And so she's like, oh, well, that person knows the secret now, and I'm just like, oh, okay. That's one way of thinking about it. I feel like some of my Black Southern roots is coming out too, because sometimes you just don't want to talk about things like that. You know what I mean? It's just like, let's not talk about death right now. Let's talk about living life.
Well, and Betty White is still hanging in there, 99 years young. So I
heard this several years ago, but when she was still doing appearances, of course.
Well, hold out a little bit longer on that secret, Betty, because it's going to be a national day of mourning when we lose the last Golden Girl, Miss Betty White. I have to agree with you guys. This is definitely not what I envisioned, but I thought it was interesting just to see the perspective, because I also heard a complaint from one of my coworkers saying, I wanted there to be something in there that was going to tie into that person's religious beliefs. And I said, I think it's intentional that is
absolutely
not the case.
They
right?
kept this as neutral as possible.
Yep.
Yes.
Yep.
They did a great job with that.
They did. So as Joe was kind of getting oriented, it's like, what is going on? He encounters these other spirits who seem kind of excited to be there. One lady was like, I'm 100 and some years old. I've been waiting on this.
Right? I think she ran past that.
Yeah, she was like, get out of the way, Sonny. I'm good to go. But Joe is really focused on getting back to Earth because he doesn't feel like he's done, right? He just got this dream gig he's been waiting for his whole life. So he's trying to escape the great beyond, and to do that, he gets dropped into the great before, aka the U seminar, as one of the counselor Jerry's calls it, because they're rebranding. I thought that was hilarious.
That's cute, right?
Yes.
Like, even in afterlife, we're talking about branding. Lord Jesus. Okay. So let's move into our next section, which is the great before. So Jerry, one of the counselor Jerry's, takes little Spirit Joe on a little tour where he tries unsuccessfully to get back to Earth through the Earth portal for the new souls, right? Terry, the accountant from the great beyond, declares, listen, there is a problem in this soul count. This man had what is it called, an abacus that he was keeping track of on.
I had to ask.
I don't even know how
that was. I was like, what do you call this?
Yeah. Like that was
That's the
pretty
name of it?
old school.
Egyptians use this.
Yeah, pretty old school. So Joe is not successful in using the Earth portal. He keeps getting bounced back. So he has to pretend to be a mentor, because that's what the older souls who are there for, is to mentor the new souls to help prepare them for life on Earth, right? Each new soul develops their personality and require a final spark to leave for Earth. So Joe, aka Dr. Borgensen, a renowned child psychologist, because that's the identity he originally takes on, sees it as his opportunity and is assigned Soul 22. Now, ladies, this soul is a little difficult. She has had everybody from Gandhi to Abraham Lincoln to Muhammad Ali, shout out to One Night in Miami, to Marie Antoinette, to Copernicus, and even Mother Teresa, who she apparently made cry, have tried to mentor this soul to no avail. Because Soul 22 said, listen, I have no interest in life or Earth. I'm comfortable. I got my routine. I'm Gucci. So Joe and Soul 22, they take a little tour of Joe's life as an exhibit. And he suddenly felt like, after seeing this exhibit, his life was meaningless. And it seems like
that was tough.
It was. The fire is lit under him even more to get back to correct his life. So he and Soul 22 agree to find her spark so that it can be given to Joe for an Earth pass. They made an arrangement. And so they go to the Hall of Everything. What did you guys think about, first of all, Joe's exhibit? Second of all, the visuals at this point? Because this is an animated film. What are you thinking about what you're seeing?
Like, so I thought initially, like, I loved this whole section because, like, you know, it was talk about, first of all, them being matched up as soulmates. Like, it was just something about that. And then how they just like they teamed up, like, okay, I hope you get what you want. You help me get what I want. Like, that was just like perfect. And then, you know, as he's unfortunately finding out that his life is crap. Like, I mean, you know, like, because living it, he probably thought it was just so much better, but seeing it visually, he was just like, whoa, what is this? Like you said, like, you got to get back.
I had to do more.
I have to fix it, you know. But then I feel like it kind of intrigued her too, because she was like, she was like, you know, basically your life sucks, but you're just so determined to get back there. I have to figure out what this Earth is about.
Right,
like,
right.
That's so true. Like, she had missed so many extraordinary people. Right. He was so ordinary.
boring. That's a great point, Shamika. She was fascinated in his mundaneness, right?
Yes.
Laura, give me your thoughts.
Yeah, I loved it visually again. In its all translucent state. I felt like it was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed the scenes where they were doing some pretty cool things, and she was like, meh, sitting at the Resolute desk.
Yeah,
meh.
she didn't care.
And then she was like, oh, can I? It was like, she's a firefighter and trying to take out the fire, and she's like, oh, I think I want to light it or let it burn more.
Yeah,
like,
yeah. Hilarious. So it's like, oh, you're crazy little soul. Okay.
Yes.
Fascinating.
But yeah, you know, but at this point we are, you know, trying to find that spark or trying to find that purpose. And it was very, as an audience member, I was just like, oh yeah, what is it gonna take? Because I actually didn't come to the understanding of her wanting to necessarily want to see what, you know, his life was all about because of the mundaneness. I didn't even catch that. And I've watched it multiple times, but yeah.
Well, you're watching it with a 3-year-old, so I'm sure she's like, you know, very invested in having full commentary during the whole film every time. So
every time.
Yeah, so you were a little bit distracted. I definitely thought visually, I was hoping that this was going to be the thing that kids get really excited about, because again, it is such a adult heavy themed film to me that I was like, well, for this, I hope kids really gravitate to this and think this is like exciting. When you get to the Hall of Everything, I thought it was so funny that you didn't have any of your senses, because I'm like, how can you be in the Hall of Everything and really appreciate anything if you can't taste, you can't smell, you can't touch? Like,
exactly.
You know, we are humans and experience the world through these things. So it was just so interesting. But guys, I have one last question before we move on. What do you think your spark would be? Shamika, I'll start with you.
Oh, I mean, I would say dance naturally, just because, I mean, the only thing that I can recall ever being in the zone about is that. That is the only thing that I live for.
Okay, Delora.
Why are you asking these questions? Okay,
It
leave
goes with the movie,
me
girl.
alone. Okay,
You hopped on the mic today. You should have been ready.
Wow. My spark. I don't know if I just have one spark. You know, there's the family element, there's the leadership element in terms of, you know, I've always been a resource in to people in some way. And so, you know, that's when everything from what I did in community service to even now with the podcast, trying to be a resource to people in the realm of pop culture, you know? So I don't know, helping the fellow man in some way.
Acts of service, it sounds like, would have possibly been a spark for you. Acts of service.
See, this is why, leave me alone, Ashley. I need to have a more concise answer. Okay, yes.
But what about you today? Yeah, mine would have absolutely been music. It would have absolutely been music. Music, I always say this, if TV and film, because again, we both have this love of pop culture. That's why we started this podcast and TV and film. But if that is my heart, music is absolutely my soul. There is a feeling that I get from music that there is nothing else in life that can replace. So I would just imagine that if there was some type of spark, I'm like Joe, it's gonna come. It's gonna come from somebody musically. So that's my answer for that. So Soul 22 though, again, she wasn't about that life. She's not impressed with anything. Earth, schmirth, it's boring. I'm over it. But to escape Jerry, because Jerry is like, listen, your time is up, Joe. We got to get you back over to the great beyond. They decide to escape to the zone, the space between the physical and the spiritual. I love the joke that they do at this part about the Knicks. I was like, I wonder if people in New York saw this movie and was like, middle finger, bro. Like, I don't appreciate y'all. It was hilarious. Hilarious. And that happens when they meet up with Moonwind, who is a mystic. So they call
my favorite character in the film.
They call themselves Mystics Without Borders. They help lost souls who become obsessive and disconnected from life, and they try to get them back to their bodies. Like, for example, we saw a hedge fund manager who was so obsessed, and then they put him back in his body. He destroys the office, knocking everybody's computers off the desk. That was a very funny sequence.
The way he slammed those computers on the floor.
Yeah.
Man.
And just imagine, like, people would have lost their minds.
Absolutely.
So they try to help, Moonwind tries to help Joe get back to his body. And because of Joe's lack of patience, Joe accidentally gets put into a therapy cat because Joe's body is in a hospital, right? He fell down a freaking manhole. So his spirit gets put into a therapy cat, Mr. Mittens, and Soul 22 gets put into jail. So last section, back to life, not quite reality. Soul 22's freak out when they first break out of the hospital, I felt was so relatable because of all the cities, Lord, of all the cities to be dropped into when you've never experienced Earth in your life, New York City would have been jarring. New York City freaks me out. Okay.
Same. And I actually put that in my notes too. I was like, 22 was nervous to leave. I'm like, because New York City is intense. It's insane.
Oh my gosh. It would have been so much. I was like, y'all couldn't have dropped her in a nice little farm town somewhere. Like, give her a minute. You know what I mean?
Cornfields.
Yes. Also relatable, that love for pizza. Oh my God.
100%.
Could have been fried chicken, but pizza is right up underneath that.
See, I'm a pizza girl.
Okay.
So, yeah.
All right. They do locate Moonwind, who just conveniently happens his physical body to be in New York. So they get in touch with Moonwind, find him on the street. He's flipping signs because of course he is.
Of course.
Yeah.
I love that part of it.
It was hilarious. Yeah. That's how he's in the zone. He's out there flipping a sign at, like, I don't know what, do you guys know what the store was? He was flipping, was it sale store?
It had to have been a cell phone.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. So they get in touch with him, try to correct this, fact that Joe's in the cat and all that. Can't perform the switch though until 6:30. Joe's gig is at 7. Crunch time.
Wait. He was like, the government calls it 6:30. Like, it was like the thin realm between the spirit world and earth. Listen, that?
but the thing that made him so credible is obviously there's truth. This man knows how to go in between life and death. Like,
exactly. You can't knock the hustle.
I'm listening to everything Moonwind is talking about. Right. Okay.
Pretty much.
So unfortunately though, what happens? Dorothea and Curly see Joe, aka Soul 22, looking crazy, looking disheveled in his hospital gown. Got pizza
soiled
grease,
hospital gown,
looking crazy. And so Dorothea ends up giving the gig to somebody else. Curly does call, leave a voicemail, and says, "Listen, get your life together, clean yourself up, show up early. We're gonna try to get you this gig back." Joe's student Connie, who we met at the beginning of the film, shows up at his place. She wants to quit school and band. She plays the trombone, but because of her love for the instrument, she changes her mind. And that really started the spark of curiosity in Soul 22 now that she's on Earth, that she really wants to, get involved and try some things. Meanwhile, Terry, the accountant, discovers Joe is missing. He's the missing soul in the count. Heads to Earth to get him. Ladies, question. Would you try to cut your own hair in a cat body?
Never. Yeah, I thought that was such a poor decision. I'm like, sir, I understand she's getting used to a human body, but you're getting used to being a cat.
He was determined.
The cat and
tried.
Never.
He tried though. Like, I give him an A for effort, but that scene was ridiculous.
Ridiculous. But he was so serious though.
He
was serious.
It was funny. So he had to go to the barbershop. This is one of my favorite scenes of the whole entire film. His barber, Des, was beard goals. Can I just say?
Yeah.
So many ladies on the internet was lusting over that cartoon.
If people lust after Simba on The Lion King, I am not remotely shocked or surprised. Okay,
Kovu from Lion King 2.
Y'all know y'all are a little strange when y'all start lusting after a lion character. Like, I'm just saying. Aladdin, I'll give you. I thought Aladdin was cute too. Okay, but
Prince
Eric, save lives.
Cough.
Save lives. So Des had.
I'm not saying that out of experience or anything.
I was about to say, I'm glad I wasn't the only one looking at animated characters. Wink, wink. So Joe had to go to the barbershop, and his barber Des had to hook him up. But what was so funny about this is that Soul 22, being Joe, had the barbershop fully engaged, right? Learn new things about him, learn new things about Des. I had in question marks, is Soul 22 better at being Joe than Joe?
Joe? That's a good one. I thought that. That was very enlightening, that whole moment.
It definitely was. I think what it shows for me, in my opinion, is that Joe needed a different perspective. Like, like most humans, we make a lot of assumptions about our environment and the people in our environment, and we don't take the time to go outside of those, outside of that box we put people in, and ask different questions, or get a different angle. And so, I mean, think about the conversation of, oh, Des was born to be a barber. Well, that's not what he wanted to be. He wanted to be a veterinarian. And,
and to
life
think about
happened.
possibly how many years he had been going there and he had never had that conversation.
Never. And then of course, at the end of the session, Des is like, hey, I was glad to talk about something other than jazz with you.
Yes. He was so singularly focused. And I also think it just goes to show how easy it is, to your point, that you stop appreciating the wonderful things that are a part of your day-to-day life, the people that are in it. I think that 2020 really put that in perspective for a lot of people, because once you no longer have that, you come to appreciate it so much more, because you realize the emptiness that you feel in your life without it. So I think because these people he interacted with, whatever, he started to lack that appreciation, even with his singular focus, that you went to this barber possibly for years, and you've never had any type of a conversation, asked as many questions about himself or his life. You were not appreciating the people that were a part of you being just in your day-to-day livelihood. So
and I'm gonna add one last thing to that. I'm gonna add gender to that. And I feel like, granted, 22 is genderless, raceless spirit. It takes a woman to ask these questions, because guys will do the same thing over and over again and be like, oh, I didn't see this. I'm like, you've been friends with him for 25 years. You didn't know this?
Shamika, did you have any thoughts on this portion?
The same, as you said. I think it was just enlightening. I mean, it made me look into my own life too, because I mean, how many times have I been singularly focused on my career, mostly, and not really gotten to know the people around me. And so I had to take a step back and was like, whoa, again, this was an adult movie, and I learned many lessons.
Yes. Absolutely. So while Soul 22 is enjoying a bit of life, she accidentally splits Joe's pants open. So we have to go back to his mom's tailor shop. I don't think I mentioned that in the beginning, that Joe's mother is a tailor. He plans to lie to his mom about the gig and about where he's going, because, again, feeling is she doesn't approve of his dreams, as we saw even as an audience. Her words cut deep, as I put in my notes. They ended up, when he got there, having to really have a heart-to-heart. And it seemed like they really turned a corner in their relationship. She ended up giving Joe his father's old suit for his gig. One thing I said is they could have gave my guy Joe some black shoes to go with that suit.
I actually like the shoes.
The brown shoes bothered me. The brown shoes bothered me.
I thought they were kind of like a not burgundy, but purple plum. No?
Well, I needed them to be black. I needed the black shoes with that suit, because that suit was fly.
What the old school people would call sharp.
Yes.
It was real sharp.
Yes.
I thought he was sharp too.
So now that we're at this point, I want to go back to the question about you guys' thoughts on Joe's relationship with his mother, because for me, she gave off Sister Act 2 mom vibes. It was really centered on, I don't want to see you ending up like your daddy. What happened to your daddy, the struggle with your daddy, even though music is your passion. I don't want you to, what she say on Sister Act 2, your daddy died still singing his shoulda, coulda, wouldas. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So it was such a direct connection for me. What did you guys think at this point now about this turning point, it seems like, possibly within their relationship? Again, Joe was in his 40s. So
yes, he was not a spring chicken.
Yes. Yeah. Give me your thoughts, guys.
I think that, again, her intentions were pure. I think, this scene definitely told us a little bit more about why she felt that way, about his dad, and why she didn't want him to go down the same path, because she's not going to be here much longer to take care of him. And so I could definitely, respect that and understand that. I really like that. Although he was forced to talk through 22, he just kind of addressed it head on. Hey, Mom, but this is what I want to do with my life, and I don't feel like I've ever been able to talk to you about it before. But able to accomplish that. So that was nice to see. A good resolution.
And I respect her position also, because again, she probably was, bright-eyed and bushy-tailed with his father, and they weren't able to really go the distance, right? And so knowing the heartache of not being able to go the distance, she was trying to spare that for her. Some kids, that's what parents do all the time. They try to, in healthy ways and unhealthy ways, make sure you don't hurt when you fall, or make sure you don't fall, but you also don't have that level of control either. So
yeah, I can tell you guys, this really made me think heavily about my levels of communication with members of my own family, because again, like I said when we talked about this initially, I think you can get into patterns with your family and familial relationships. And sometimes you just think like, oh, that's just the way that person is. I'm going to ignore it and keep going. But it took essentially one conversation for his mother to realize, you have made me feel like shit my whole life about who I am and what I want to do. And I'm telling you, I eat, sleep, and breathe that there's nothing else that I want to do in my life but this. And if only maybe they had that conversation sooner, they could have come to a better understanding earlier. Absolutely. Obviously not too late, because, you know, it is what it is. They're there. But definitely, I think it's a moment of pause of like, how are you? Because I think sometimes too, when we talk about family, you are less likely to have those conversations with family than you even are with like friends, coworkers, whatever. We'll resolve issues with those people. We'll let family issues fester forever. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
So I'm definitely glad that it seems like they came to a point where they understood each other, and that his mother really only wanted the best for him. But as you said, Delora, sometimes the love is not always seen in the healthiest of ways.
No, and the last thing I'm going to say to that, especially when it comes to family relationships, timing is seemingly always off, right? So when you're ready to ask, why do you stand for that position? Sometimes you are not greeted with a genuine answer for whatever reason, you know? And so I think when it comes to family relationships, it's like the timing, who knows whenever the timing is, you know, sometimes to have those really important conversations.
And that's why sometimes a clinical therapist is necessary.
Third party. Yes.
Get us over that.
Outside of our home.
Yes. Help get us over that hump, you know, and help us be able to talk to each other without, you know, words getting a little aggressive, because we have that as well. So just moving on a little bit, we realized that Soul 22, all this time she's been saying she's not interested in living, but it's really, she felt like she wasn't good enough to live, and really fell in love though with life on earth, being Joe. And we see her wanting to stay longer because she feels like, you know, all these years I haven't found my spark. Being here, that's what's going to give me my spark. Unfortunately though, as she's trying to run away, because again, she's Joe in Joe's body, and Mr. Mittens, aka Joe, is chasing her as a cat. Terry gets them in the subway, drops them back into the great before. But once they get there, Soul 22 now has that Earth pass. So being on Earth really did give her that final spark she needed. But Joe feels like, listen, you only got this because you were in my body. You only fell in love with life because you were in my body. You would have never had this on your own. So she gets upset. She gives him her Earth pass anyway. Jerry, one of the Jerrys, informs Joe that the spark is not actually one's purpose. She said that's so, what'd she say, like not mundane, but like simple-minded almost. Yeah, like basic. So basic. Yeah, like that's not what this whole thing is about. So Joe takes the pass, gets back to his body in time to perform for the gig. Afterwards, though,
of a lifetime.
Afterwards, he does not feel how he thought he would. This is a profound moment when you reach the mountaintop and you have the thing you thought you always wanted. He tells her, this is it. This is it. This is all. He's outside of the front with Dorothea. Dorothea said, he was like, what do we do now? She said, we'll come back and do this again tomorrow.
Exactly. Dorothea, this is your job.
Yeah. Dorothea relates a story to him about a young fish and an old fish. Young fish tells the old fish he wants the ocean, right? The old fish tells him, but you're in the ocean right now. He says, no. This is just water. I want the ocean. Give me you guys' thoughts when you heard this story from Dorothea.
I cried.
Did you cry?
Like, I'm, you know, probably more so internally than externally, but I cried. You know what I mean? Like, how many times a day are you feeling like, what's my purpose, or this one thing that I'm focused on that I feel that I'm so good at, this is my purpose, this is my life, right? What's next? Like, how big am I supposed to be? And in reality, none of that matters. Your whole purpose is that you're here, you're in the ocean. Like, what are you looking for? Like, oh my God, that just it made me look at my, like, I mean, I had already left my job, but it made me feel like, that's why I left my job. Like, this is my purpose, living in the moment, spending time with my friends and my family, and like just living my life. Like, what am I looking for?
You better preach, Shamika. I'm feeling all the feelings right
Absolutely.
now.
Absolutely.
All my feels. Like, yeah.
Delora?
Well, even to the point, going back a little bit, when Jerry told Joe that, you know, when he was equating the spark to purpose and he's saying it's so basic, I actually recently saw a video on Instagram and it really spoke to me. And it's a young lady pretty much saying, you are worthy now. You are worthy now.
I think you sent that to us, Delora.
I did. Yes. I did. Not when you lose 20 pounds, not when you get the degree, not when you, because you are alive today, you are worthy. Amen. And that is something that I had to really learn, especially in the last 3 years. Like, my value is not associated with my productivity. You know what I mean? Because my productivity isn't necessarily you know, something that you get at the end of the week, right? It's like a seed that has been buried, and I probably won't see the benefits until another 18 years, Lord Jesus. And so I say that to say it was just so powerful to understand, like, because I think our generation definitely have drank the Kool-Aid on like the purpose and the grind and the this and the that. And I feel like this pandemic has put all of that to a screeching halt. It has allowed a lot of people to look around and be like, how am I going to spend my life? Because death is outside our door, unfortunately.
Absolutely. The mortality is there for sure. And again, even for those of us who are in the house, all this and that, all that time, what is it that actually makes me happy? It is not working, because I'm doing that. For those who've lost their job, that is a burden, but it's like, those are not the key things that as a human being lift and fuel your spirit. When you think about the best moments of your life, they usually involve an experience or a relationship in relation to someone else, right? It is those moments you spend with your family, those moments you spend with your friends, those vacations you took together, those things you guys still kiki about years later. Because I still have those friends and I talk about something hilarious that happened in elementary school. Those are the things that when I have my exhibit at the end of my life as Joe, those are the things that will fulfill me, right? Not these senses of accomplishment that are fleeting.
Yes.
And it was so valuable. And Dorothea got in the cab after that because I was like, that was a mic drop.
It was. She said, see you tomorrow.
Listen,
see you tomorrow.
I said what I said, and I hope you receive it in this moment to understand that that you've been chasing your whole life, you've been missing all of the moments that really mattered along the way. It's always been about the journey, baby. Always.
Always.
So Joe plays the piano to get back to the zone to find 22, because after his talk with Dorothea and after him not feeling how he thought, he realizes he was wrong. So he wants to find 22, who Moonwind informs him is now, unfortunately, a lost soul. She is obsessive about not being enough, about not being good enough. It takes Joe going in. Not having a purpose. It takes Joe going in to be able to really pull her back out of that grief and move on, head to earth, because again, she's a new soul. She's never been able to live yet, right? And that would have been a tragedy. So we do see her get to take the earth pass, ascend down with holding Joe's hand until he's inevitably brought back. We think he's about to go on to the great beyond, but what happens, ladies, because of this sacrifice, as he's ascending into the great beyond, Counselor Jerry, you're going to get a second chance to live again, because we're in the business of inspiration and you have now inspired us. So Joe is able to return to his body with this newfound appreciation for everyday life. We see him just take in this delicious breath of air when he's reunited with his body and steps outside his front door. Ladies, give me your final thoughts of this film.
So I think finally for me, you know, just going back to soulmates, right? Like I just was like, that's what the definition of it is. Like he brought her from this dark place, right? Or 22 from this dark place. I got you. I'm gonna help you get what you need. And the fact that he escorted her down, that was just so beautiful. Oh my gosh, it was tearful. And you know, and then I really hope that, because I know a lot of people have that revelation, mostly when it comes from a near death experience. You know, oh, I'm going to be better, I'm going to be different. And unfortunately, you know, people fall into those same habits. I just was like, Joe, remember this.
Yes.
Right? Live your life.
Yes.
You know, soak in all of those moments, soak in the world, soak in everything. So, because that was the lesson that I wanted to take away from it, right? Like, look up, look around you.
Don't you think Joe was a glass half empty person? And hopefully after this, he's going to be a glass half full. He's going to have more gratitude for everything he has versus always looking at what he doesn't have. At least that's the hope.
Yeah, right.
Definitely.
Exactly.
Delora?
I did get emotional watching this film, especially when you have that beautiful montage of him understanding what life actually is. And it's that collection of the mundane moments, right, that we take for granted. But those are the things that we look most fondly upon, even more so than the big moments like graduation or promotion or what have you. And it just made me think about, you know, precious moments, more specifically thinking about my grandmother who recently passed, and just remembering how she used to hold my hand and say honey, or the small moments of you know, I have a toddler who was once very, very small, not anymore, and just cuddles whenever there's a boo-boo, and it just made me think about all those small moments and how I have been the type of person to overlook those things and say, oh, that's just living, right? Life is being on stage somewhere or on spotlight, you know, and understanding it's like, no. And even then you have to have the small moments leading up to being able to be that person, right, that, you know, could be on that stage under that spotlight. You still have to do the 100 reps of whatever, you know, 10,000 hours to be an expert or whatever. It's still the small things that absolutely matter, more so than that big thing. So it just was a beautiful story, definitely spoke to my heart, and really got me thinking. So I really appreciate that about this film.
Yes. Thank you, Disney Pixar, for this adult animated feature. Like I said, it came at such a pivotal moment. I remember I didn't realize it was an adult animated feature until I had a conversation with a 15-year-old. And she was like, Ashley, I didn't really like this movie. I was like, what? I love this movie. And she really relayed to me why. And I'm like, right, you're 15, right? You're not thinking these thoughts yet. You're not, you know, wondering about what purpose means and what your life's going to look like. You have everything ahead of you. And your mortality is not something you relatively consider on any basis like you do as you start to get older, right? So I appreciated it. Like you just said, Delora, I think it helped me continue to appreciate things, and hopefully I will continue to see films like this that reinforce it. Because to your point, Shamika, sometimes you do have those days you forget. And you like, this day is not going my way. F this life, you know, and then you remember there are so many people without, and there's so much to be grateful for. And I want to live in gratitude at all times, because that's so valuable and important. Guys, I have one final question. It's so petty. How did Mr. Mittens get back in his body? Because wasn't Mr. Mittens on the elevator to the great beyond?
I thought the same thing.
You know,
this did not cross my mind at all.
Because it's petty. Like I said, it's petty. But I'm like, excuse me, how did you come back, Mr. Mittens?
They rectified the situation.
Clearly. They had to have.
They had to, because Terry was going crazy about the numbers. So they was like, you know what, let's just let's just take it back, and then it's not even over or under. It's right.
Yeah, let's give this, because for a pet, like that's just a therapist. That seemed like that was that lady's personal cat. So there was a connection. Yeah. So anyway, petty, but thank you guys so much, Shamika, for joining us for this recap. It was a pleasure. Love this film. Hope you guys have checked it out. If you have not, again, it is on Disney Plus. I think it's going to be released soon on Blu-ray and DVD as well. So
nice.
You can purchase. Delora, what we got for Hidden Gems?
All right. So Hidden Gems this week, to highlight African-American animators, Netflix Canvas is a short film, just like Hair Love last year. And I do not have the specifics, but I really thought it was a touching, beautiful animated short highlighting a Black family, more specifically an African-American man and a lost love. So again, beautiful, beautiful short film, also available to people who have Netflix, and definitely worth the time to watch. And my second hidden gem is on Disney Plus. I'm going to refer to it as Brandy's Cinderella. Rogers and Hammerstein Cinderella, 1997. Starring Brandy, Whitney Houston, Whoopi Goldberg. I talked about this briefly at the end of our podcast a couple of podcasts ago, gearing up for the day, and it came out, I believe, on the 12th, and I can confidently tell you that I've watched it over 5 times with my toddler.
You're not alone. You are not.
It is so good. It aged so well. The only issue is obviously the filming, right? Like the picture isn't as clear as it once was, but that soundtrack needs to be available. Okay.
Why
Agreed.
It's not, I have no idea, but it is fantastic.
There's probably a petition, so if there is, we'll sign it.
And then the last thing I'm going to say about this hidden gem, the way that Whitney Houston hits that note, impossible. I'm like, this woman gives me chills. Over
the
20
Whitney
years.
Houston. Okay.
I mean, that woman is the voice for a reason.
She's
That's
the goat.
all I got to say.
She is the goat.
Those are my hidden gems. What about you, Ashley?
All alone in my own little chair.
Wait. My song, I was singing A Lovely Night.
Yes.
A lovely night.
Yeah.
Guys, I was talking to Delora off mic. We both just were watching the Cinderella medley that Tadra Call did with Brandy. If you have not checked that out on YouTube, be sure to do so.
Phenomenal.
To see Brandy in her 40s now recreate this look, do this performance, it was that teared me up more than the film, rewatching the film itself. It was so nostalgic.
I said it. I cried.
Oh my
Because
God.
Brandy, again, black don't crack, obviously, right?
No, she looks, in my opinion, she's more beautiful than ever. Exactly. More beautiful than ever. Yes.
Oh, beautiful.
Yes. So that's why we're even a little more turned up. I'm gonna let Shamika go first though, just in case Shamika has a hidden gem. Shamika, is there any hidden gem you want to share, girl? Feel free.
I thought about it long and hard because y'all know I don't get to watch TV as much as I would like to. But I'm gonna jump on the bandwagon because I love me some Cinderella. I have watched it. I was waiting for the moment that it dropped.
Yes.
So when it came out, I just want Bear to love it so much. I put it on. He don't care. He doesn't care at all.
Oh, but Amar does. Amar does so much so really quick that when she leaves after midnight, she was like, "Where's Cinderella? Where's Cinderella?" And I'm like, Cinderella has box braids.
Listen,
living
her best life.
My soul.
I love
okay.
But let's see. So one thing that I just started watching, my cousin had put me onto it. I haven't watched all of it, but Amend.
Yes.
Fight for America.
Yep, that Will Smith did. Yes. That's a great gem, girl.
I am liking that because I personally, like, I need to educate myself on my blackness and on my stance, right?
Don't we all?
And I need to know what I'm talking about when I'm talking about it. So I just love the education for, like, Will Smith is just first of all, he is my man crush forever. Hey, Will.
Always and forever.
He's only getting better. And that's available on Netflix. Is it a 6-part? I think 5 or 6-part documentary they did regarding the 14th Amendment. So it's on my list, Shamika. That is a fantastic hidden gem. Thank you so much. So I just have 2 to wrap us up. My first one, just a cute little Black love rom-com I came across on Amazon called Love by the 10th Date, starring Megan Good, V. Kelly Rowland, and Carrie Hilson. Megan Good actually served as a producer on this film.
Is this new or old?
No, it's 2017. So
I
caught it on Amazon, and I think it's available on there through the end of the month because of Black History Month, but it's a Lifetime film. So if you guys have Lifetime, I'm sure it's on demand somewhere, live somewhere, but it was very cute. Black love rom-com, gotta support. Okay. My second hidden gem, Being Serena on HBO. It dropped back in 2018, 5 episodes. Follows Serena as she was navigating, first discovering she was pregnant right after winning her 23rd Grand Slam title and trying to find balance as she got back into training to compete. I would still love a season 2 of this.
Same.
I just really want to show Serena love because I know she had a pretty devastating loss last week at the Australian Open. But Serena, I just want you to know you are the GOAT. GOAT status, and
you don't need another one.
I mean, I know she wants to. She wants it. The same with Tiger with the 19th, when she wants to tie or at least surpass, either tie or surpass the 24, which is the victory or the wins for women in women's tennis. That I believe her name is Marjorie Court, something like that. I apologize if I'm wrong.
Mind you, wasn't playing this caliber of tennis when she did that back in the day, which is something
exactly
that needs to be noted.
At this age, the fact that Serena had a kid and came back within months, had a C-section, and came back and played at high level tennis. I mean, again, I just want to show Serena some love because Serena, you did your damn thing. Don't hold your head up, baby. You are the GOAT, whether you get to 24 or not. So, ladies, those are my hidden gems for this week.
Yay! Okay, so I'm gonna throw this out there really quick. I actually watched Namaste Wahala on Netflix also. It is about a Nigerian woman falling in love with an Indian man. I really wanted it to be my hidden gem, but it's not because it's not a really good film. But the concept I loved. They even have a Bollywood. It's like when Bollywood and Nollywood like come together, and the concept is there. The story plot is there. It's the editing, the music, and overall acting.
So maybe the budget wasn't there, but we won't put this in the liner notes, guys, but obviously you're listening, feel free to check that film out that Delora just put out there.
It's definitely worth mentioning. That's all.
All right. Well, again, Shamika, love you, the third member of our girl group. It was so good to have you on the mic. I'm sure we'll have you back at some point in time. Guys, thank you for sticking with us. Next week will be episode 20. If you can believe it, Delora at 21, we're taking another shot.
We are.
Be ready. Be ready. All right, guys, we're getting out of here. See ya.
Bye.
Bye.